Purna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Vachamarasudanaha. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. Two. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kutashtva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam Akirti Karamarjuna. The Supreme Person Bhagavan said, my dear Arjuna, how these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. Klaibyamma smagama partha naitatvayupapajate shudram hridayador balyam chaktvotishtadparam tapa. O son of Pita, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Text 4. Arjuna Vacha Katam Bhishmam Aham Sankhe Dronam Chamurasudana Ishubi Pratiyochyami Pujarhavati Sudana. Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counter attack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? Guruna Hatva Himahanubhava Shreyo Bhoktum Bhaikshami Papiham Loke Hatvarta Kamam Staguruni Haiva Unjiya Bhogan Rudhir Pradigdan. It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Text 6. Nachaitad vidma katarando gariyo yadva jayema yadi vano jayeyuhu yaneva hatva nachajivi shamas devastita pramuke kartarashtraha. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. Sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Text 7. Karpanya doshopata swabhava prichchami tvam dharma samudacheta yastreya shanischitam bruhitan me shishasteham shadimam tvam prapanam. Translation. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple, and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Text 8. Nahi prapashyami mama punabhyat Yat choktam uchoshanam indriyanam avapi bhumavasapatnyam ridham rajam suranam apichadipatyam. Translation. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Text 9. Sanjaya Vacha Eva Muktva Rishikesham Purakesha Parantapa Yotsya Iti Govinda Uktva Tushnim Babhuvaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Text 10. Tamavaja Rishikesha Prasaniva Bharata Senayor Ubayor Madhye Vishidantamidam Vachaha. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Text 11. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Shochananda Shochastvam Pragyavadang Shabashase Gatasuna Gatasungscha Anashochanti Panditaha. Blessed Lord said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Go back to text 1, chapter 2. Someone like to read the purport? Do the devotees really have compassion? Or is there such a thing as, well, what is compassion? Is there anything wrong with it? And we were discussing the same topic with Arjuna. Nothing wrong with compassion. He didn't want to harm any living entity. But the point was brought up that since Krishna wanted him to shoot the arrows, then his compassion was misplaced. It wasn't real. Because real compassion, as described here, is not compassion for the dress. Compassion is for the soul. And that means one wants to give Krishna consciousness. One wants to help. That's real compassion. And one wants to help people get Krishna consciousness. Wants to bring them up to the platform of coming to Krishna. So other compassion, so-called compassion, trying to help the body, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not real compassion. In other words, it's nice to want to help someone, but if you don't know who they are, how can you know if you're helping them? So without knowing who the soul is, we see so much misplaced compassion. Compassion on the thieves, compassion on the murderers, compassion on the wrongdoers. Compassion because someone didn't win the award for the most beautiful girl in the state or something. These types of compassion are a waste of time. Because they should be teaching the objects of their compassion about Krishna, helping them to become Krishna conscious. We're reading that violence is not always just defined as causing harm, but not helping them advance. That's also violence, not helping them advance. So the devotee is always trying to help everyone advance. But Krishna wanted to teach not only Duryodhana and the persons on the other side what was right, but he wanted to establish it for all time. That those who follow Krishna's instructions, they're glorious. They'll be victorious. They'll be moral. They'll be always victorious. It's the last verse. Wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, opulence, victory, extraordinary power, morality. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurjanaha. Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That's my opinion. He's teaching that. That's compassion upon the other party, for them to learn that. They were concerned with being maintained. They thought of being maintained by this administration. Therefore, I should take their side. Well, under some circumstances, under ordinary circumstances, there'd be nothing wrong with that. You're being maintained by a certain kingdom or a certain government, and now they've asked you to take up arms for their cause. You have to do it. If your boss, you're working for a company and they're being accused in court, and they need you to testify, you say, I don't feel good in courts. I get shaky and I get nervous. I get nightmares. I'd rather not do it. Boss will say, well, what do you mean? You've been maintained in this company for 30 years. We paid you so much money. And now, when there's a very important case, you're shirking away. So this is an extraordinary circumstance. Krishna is taking the position to support Arjuna's cause and saying the Pandavas are right and the other side is wrong. The only way they're going to come out of this doing the right thing is to come to his side. Prabhupada was paraphrasing Krishna speaking to Arjuna. He said, because Arjuna was praising, he said, they're my elders, they're my seniors, they're worthy of my worship. How can I counterattack with arrows? And Prabhupada paraphrased Krishna saying, they become contaminated, they should have joined you. They should have come to your side. Instead, they took the side of Duryodhana, who committed so many blunders. Everybody knew it was impure. Vidura knew it, Bhishma knew it, Drona knew it, even Dhritarashtra knew it. But they went along with it. So the stripping of Draupadi naked, how could they not know that was immoral? The wife of, she was the empress at that time. This was the time when Yudhishthira Maharaj was the emperor. So it's unthinkable. And yet they all did nothing. So they're finished. That's it. For that offense alone. Krishna wasn't going to let them off. But they should have come together. They should have fallen down at the feet of the Pandavas and Draupadi and Krishna and begged forgiveness for all that, all they have done, for allowing a cheating dice match, Shakuni, to throw the dice. When it was brought up to Krishna, how did he allow it to happen, the gambling match? Krishna said, I had to be in Dwarka. I had to go back to Dwarka because Shalva had attacked and he was defeating even Pradyumna. Pradyumna was there to protect the city, but Shalva was so powerful. He was defeating him. So the whole capital, Dwarka, was in danger. He had to go back. He said, if I had been there wouldn't have been any gambling match. He described how he would do it. He said, I would have spoken in such a way that Bhishma and Drona would have supported me, and then the grandfather, or Dhritarashtra would have to agree, and then Duryodhana would be silenced, and that would be it. There wouldn't have been any gambling. But he couldn't be there because he had to do something else. course, Krishna can do anything he wants. Just like he was in Dwarka, when Draupadi called and there was nobody there to protect her, even though she married 5 Maharatis. And her uncle was there, and her cousins and everything. Nobody was protecting her. Then Krishna had to take care of that. The sorry incarnation. Questions or comments?
Brought up that might be a little mundane. Maybe you can share other people have thought of it. That why didn't the Pandavas at least attempt to help Draupadi in that situation?
So the question is, were they at fault? Well, Draupadi censured them. She censured them in no gentle terms. She censured them. Now, we never hear of Krishna censuring them, but Draupadi did. And Krishna took the side of Draupadi. Even when Draupadi wanted to spare the life of Ashwatthama, Krishna took her side. So he respected her degree of righteousness, her ability to make good, clear decisions. But we haven't heard that because they were under Yudhisthira. And Yudhisthira wouldn't allow them to do it.
Because he already gambled.
Yeah, because
he follows that right system.
Yeah, I mean he thought that the uncle's here, the grandfather's here. Bhishma Dev is, the head of he's the grandfather, all the fighters. He's here, Drona's here, Brahmanas. And Yudhisthira just couldn't go against that. He had so much faith in Dharma that it was his duty. If he told the truth, he said he never told a lie. And Krishna was asking him to call out that Ashwatthama had been slain. And that was really difficult for him. As we know, he had a hard time doing that because he valued truth so much. So they couldn't do it because Yudhisthira. And there's one incident where it comes out. He was censured. I'll give you an example of Yudhisthira being censured. Let's see, what was the circumstance? Yudhisthira. I think it may have been on the topic of the death of Abhimanyu. Arjuna, when he came back and found out, he was really upset. And especially so I don't know if that was the particular incident, but anyway, I'll give you the essence. The essence was that somehow Arjuna and Yudhisthira got into a really serious quarrel. And Arjuna was going to kill Yudhisthira. It had become very serious for some, I can't remember the reason. It may have been he told him to throw down his Gandiva or something. Not sure what. I forget the answer. But it was dead. I mean, it was dangerous because Arjuna was going to do it. And Krishna said, you don't need, you can kill him in other ways. You don't have to kill him with your words. So Arjuna lambasted him. You gambled away you're so addicted to gambling. He let him have it. And then afterwards, Krishna said, now you have to beg him for forgiveness for all those words that you said. So Krishna knew morality so perfectly, and words, that killing doesn't always refer to, making the heart stop it. So he said it can also mean this. So he said, you do that, and they did it, and they came out all right. Everyone was safe. Without Krishna, nobody could have figured their way out of that one. Because Arjuna would only listen to something authoritative, and Yudhishthira would only. So sometimes those things happen. Kshatriyas, they have Kshatriya spirits. Just like at the end of the Yadu dynasty, they started just taking those rods and killing each other. One said something about his family, one said something about your family. You talk about being a coward. You cut off the arms of Dronacharya when he had stopped fighting. No one criticized. And then someone said Shikandi, and they couldn't tolerate those criticisms, even from family members. So yes, it's generally known that we know the vice of gambling, but we saw it really, it's very graphic in the case of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Okay, text 2.
Text. The Supreme Person Bhagavan said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Krishna is taking him to task immediately. He can see that he's softening, that Arjuna is weakening. He doesn't have the resolve to do his duty, to do his service also. So when we are having difficulty doing our service, and we're thinking of running away from the battlefield and doing something else, then Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita should ring. Kushtastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. Anarya. Anarya means one who knows the higher values of life. Anarya, so it means this is not the behavior of one who knows the higher values of life. One who knows the higher values of life certainly wouldn't suggest what you're doing, wouldn't feel hesitant to perform his duty. Okay, purport?
Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate and the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in 3 phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal or pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus: Vedanti tat tattva tattva vidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam ramati paramatmiti bhagavaniti sabhyute. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, Bhagavatam 1-11. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the Transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost Transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva. The Supreme Personality, who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation, is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality Godhead. No living entity, including Brahman, Lord Shiva, and Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord, or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Bharma Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Govinda Sarvakarna Karna. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam, there also is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original Personality of Godhead from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Etacham sakalak pumsa Krishnasta Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vakalam Lokam Murdaniyanti Murge Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutas, wherefrom. Such unmanly sentiments were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is a realization of the Absolute Truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it ever even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman.
Recently we've been talking about with people who practice yoga. And the reason bhakti is the highest is because it reaches it's striving for connection with the topmost realization, personality of Godhead Bhagavan. Whereas the Jnana system is aiming for the impersonal Brahman conception. And if you ask them, most of the yogis would have to admit their conception of the absolute truth is quite impersonal. How many of them know that it's Vishnu? If they know it's Vishnu, then they may be fortunate to use their controlled meditation, what have you, on the form of Vishnu. And that's the beginning of bhakti, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that because they're meditating on the form of Vishnu, and if they can be in trance on that form, that's Shantaras, neutral appreciation of the Supreme Lord. That's generally accepted as the beginning of bhakti, devotional service. But then the bhakti yogi, he takes that same appreciation and affinity towards, because no one's going to meditate on Vishnu. He doesn't want to meditate if he has no appreciation for Vishnu. He doesn't appreciate the beauty of Vishnu and the grandeur of Vishnu. Who's going to meditate on Vishnu? So the impersonalists, they're not aiming at. They may be doing their beginning stages of Ashtanga Yoga, but they may have different purpose. They may want to have their bodies improved, sense gratification improved. This, of course, is not spiritual. But because they're willing to follow some principles coming from the Vedas, some principles that are good, just like yam niyam. That's staying on this business. All right. Because they're following some system of the Vedas, they get benefit. They're in the Vedic culture. That's why some of our devotees are showing extra compassion on them. And some of us, hardliners like myself, have had difficulty accepting that. Why would you? Prabhupada said many things, but if you take that particular angle, that these people are they're trying to do the right thing. They don't have, their desires not purified, their hearts are not purified, but they're in. And the advantage is that when they're in that system, then they can chant Hare Krishna quite easily, as we see. And they don't have a problem with prasadam. And they probably won't be very inclined to eat meat. And gradually, as they go further and further, and their hearts get, like if they start chanting and dancing, then things are going to move real quickly. And then they'll learn that Vishnu is higher than the Brahman, than the impersonal. And higher than Vishnu is Krishna. So it's not difficult for them to become attracted to Krishna. And that's why some of our devotees use yoga as part of their preaching arsenal. Of course, it has to be done very carefully so that it doesn't become watered down or compromised. Because most of the teachers of yoga that they study, that they're, the lineage, mostly impersonalists. Yoga is teaching all these things. So that one has to be careful, that kind of association. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadi Vasa, Hoy Sarvanash. Krishna, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadi, they're Aparadis. Mayavadis. And if one hears their philosophies too, so one has to be very cautious. Not if, just like using an expert doctor, he may use arsenic to help his patient. And the heart has stopped or is not responding. An expert doctor may use a little arsenic. It's poison. But he uses it in the proper way. It wakes up the heart, so it causes some reaction. And then it can save the life of the patient. So, if arsenic can be used in devotional service, then certainly yoga can also be under the expert guidance of a preacher. Some other ones who are not so expert, they may imitate. They may get entangled in the wrong aspects. They may be drawn back to things that they had given up. So one has to be very careful, very cautious in entering into these fields. But at least we can understand from this purport, brilliant purport, how it can be explained that they're in the system. And to confirm this, someone asked Prabhupada, who is better? The Hindus who worship demigods, or the Christians and the Jews and worship God in the monotheistic traditions? Prabhupada said, ones in the Vedic culture are better because they're in the system. It'll be easy for them to become devotees of Krishna. And we see that's completely true. All over the world, the Indians, those born in India or from Indian culture, because of the appearance of a great soul like Srila Prabhupada, have come forward now, and they're becoming great bhaktas. It doesn't matter whether they're from Shakta families, or Durga worshippers, or Shiva worshippers, whatever they are, but because they're from Vedic culture, it's easy for them to take to Krishna consciousness. So you see how being in the system makes us, even if not on a lower level, still it's such a valuable thing. So similarly, these people who are trying to do yoga, it's not really doing it correctly in all aspects, obviously. But they're trying, and they're in the right system. So when they hear the words like Dharma and yoga, they become attracted. And they want to go to India. When they go to India, if we're there to guide them, then everything works out nicely. They told Prabhupada so many Westerners were coming to Vrindavan and Hardwar and different places for the wrong reasons, for intoxication, mystic, impersonal, whatever. The Prabhupada said, okay, so they've come, but let's guide them right now. Let's properly guide them we guide them, even though, because they're searching for something in the East. I know there's something in the East they're supposed to be getting. And it's our duty to show them, yeah, that something is Krishna. That's the missing thing. Thank you very much. Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai.